Would you all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, first thing on the agenda this evening is the public comments. So this would be a time to come forth and make a comment that's preferably something that's not on the agenda, but not limited to that. So I'm going to start off with the ones that have signed up, but that doesn't mean you're not able to come up and talk or give us a comment if you'd like. The first one on the public comment roster is Ken Faulkner. Are you here?
Jim,
Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to say thank you very much.
I'll give you a sign of 1 minute left.
Okay. I just wanted to thank you all for everything you do for the city and wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and continue the good work.
Thank you so much, Ken.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. So I was remiss. So Sarah is not here, one of our Councilor Stevens. Lucinda won't be attending also. Stephanie Kilmer is virtual. So I just wanted to let everyone know where we're at. So the next one is James. James, you want to come up? You're becoming a regular around here.
Good evening. Jim Barons of Fulton and Coos Bay. A couple things about short-term vacation rentals. The Planning Commission has finished recommending an ordinance. And it's going to need some more study. It's going to have to be looked at very carefully. Right now we have 18 rentals available inside the city limits of Coos Bay. 18. We have, depending on who you look at, between 31 and 36 houses for sale inside the city limits of Coos Bay. Right now, the short-term vacation rental is capped at 75. So we're going to lose over time 75 units of housing for motel rooms. And I don't see where we have that to give. So I'm asking you, when we get to the point to look at the ordinance, that we set it aside and really look at it. There are so many questions that aren't answered. It needs a lot more work. Thank you.
Thanks, James. Next one, Joe Slaff.
Hi, folks. My name is Joe Slack. I'm a resident of Coos Bay, 1975 Timberline Drive, and I'm also a local business owner. I'm an architect down on 4th Street here in town as well. And I just am here to talk a little bit about the siting of the library, the Coos Bay Public Library. I know you guys spent a whole ton of time researching it and making the decision, and I applaud the city for wanting to have a nice, safe, structurally sound building. I just really struggle with the location of it. Out at Empire Lakes, I just feel like there's several reasons why I struggle with that. One of them is it is out of the way. It's a difficult to find site. As most of you probably know, we took a run at being the architect selected for that project, and I'm not here about that. We lost fair and square. We came in second. That's all behind us. But we did spend a lot of time on the site, crawled all over it, walked it, driven to it, rode my bike around it, study it from a topographical standpoint, and it's a tough, brutal site. It can be a beautiful project, but to put this our downtown Coos Bay Public Library out there on the edge of town, it's almost closer to North Bend than it is to Coos Bay. To kind of put it in that no man's land, I just think it needs to be studied, or at least considered a little bit more thoroughly and more comprehensively. it's, my sense is, my fear is, it's gonna erode the fabric of our downtown by putting that library out, we're basically moving the most public building that we have in our town. We're gonna be moving it out of our core downtown area. And I think it's gonna have a detrimental effect. I know I don't have a lot of time here, so I might just pause and
1 minute.
consider this building. This building was built in the 70s, and the city got some federal funding to put a garage here, and then they got some additional funding to put the city hall on top of it. And what happened, because we needed the property, we put this building right smack dab in the middle of the right-of-way, because the city owned the property. And we've lived with this building right here. We have this quagmire of traffic that we all are used to, because we all drive it every day, where we have 5 or 6 streets that merge. It's a pedestrian nightmare. And so we've lived with it, and I'm really passionate about moving our library out of the downtown area, and I think there's some additional considerations that should be made. And that's what I've got. Thank you very much. You guys have a Merry Christmas.
Thanks.
Thanks, Joe. You too.
So I'm going to address this, and I think the rest of the council can jump in if they want. 6 years ago, I came back on the council with some others, and the library was existing and was a problem, and they've worked on it for how many years, Roger, trying to cite it before the 6 years?
In earnest, it started in 2014.
So in 2014, that's how long this has been going on. And because of the delays of this, the library's in the deterioration it is. And we just put $800,000 into it, rough, so we can just maybe get by for 5 years after the bond issue passes. And our intent during the majority of that time was to locate it downtown. There is not a location downtown. There is not. We had a committee that looked at it, and looked at it, and looked at it, and looked at it. And we had another committee that was upgraded, and they looked at it. It's got to be in the urban renewal district, Joe. So there's nowhere to put it down here, and you need 2 acres. So, Joe, so, I mean, if you want to come back and address the library committee later on, but we've been through this for 6 years that I've been on this committee, or on this council, and there is not a location that they've been able to find. And believe me, their intent, and if you want to get a hold of some of the ones that were on there, Bob Moore, he was on the committee, and discussed this with him, and he was adamant about putting it downtown too. That was our priority. That was our first priority. I think Carmen felt the same way. He still feels the same way, that if we could find a location downtown, that would be our preference. But it's got to be also out of the floodplain. So we got to be on the other side of 4th Street, just like we did with the fire department. Same thing. That's where they got located because of those situations. And you know that as an architect. This is what we had to deal with. You know, we even looked at the old Macaulay Hospital and, you know, that area. We looked at even Mingus Park taking the ball field. I mean, we looked at a lot of different things, and there's a lot of different reasons we were unable to get it there. So then we decided to go out to Empire and try to get Gussie's. We thought that'd be on a thoroughfare, not out of the way. We couldn't get them to sell. They're still not willing to sell, and they're letting that building deteriorate, which I think is a shame. And then we looked at the blank piece of property, which we did purchase, and we're reselling. And the decision was a split decision, whether to put it at the Empire Lakes or put it at that piece of property next to the Chrysler dealership out there. So that's the situation. And I know that there's others that feel that way. But, you know, I think this community needs to stand together and pass this bond issue for a library, or we will not have a library. And I think it's important to this community. And, you know, there's been a lot of time and a lot of effort put into this. We've had a lot of public hearings and a lot of information put out there. And, you know, any of it would have been acceptable. And we would have loved to have you involved in it, Joe, believe me. So, you know, next time that something comes up, we'll reach out to you because you have the expertise and the knowledge, and we would definitely like to get that involved. So I would, you know, suggest you reach out to the steering committee on the library and have this discussion, and they can give you more detail than I just gave you now. Anyone else want to chime in?
No, I think you covered it pretty much, Joe. You know, I was actually on the opposite vote of that. I chose the Ocean Boulevard site for some of the reasons that you mentioned. But now that I'm on the library steering committee, and since I've been involved in that, I'm actually super excited about it being in the Park City, and I think it's going to be a great location. And I mean, I understand that people want it downtown, but that just wasn't an option.
I'll hop in. I was on the side for putting it out in Toppets, and the reasoning was again, site availability was extremely restricted. There was a site on Ocean Boulevard we could have used, but it was extremely similar in size and scope to where it currently is located, the library. And it's not large enough for what it needs. About every 20 years, the current building ended up getting expanded and expanded due to increased need. And the site at Toppets Park was the only location that had the buildable ground to accommodate that if it needs to grow in the future. Or, you know, optimistically, I wanted to leave the door open if we ever get lucky enough to combine the library with North Bend. If that ever comes up as a cost savings, there's the room there to do it. When it grows in 20 years, there's room there to do it. Next council won't have to deal with it in the same way.
And we even looked at the site that it's at to try to tear it down and make it, you know, meet all the criteria that we needed to. And I don't know, it would have been, I don't know how many years we'd been without a library. And what would that have done without having a library, period? So we felt we were in this quagmire to try to get through it. And this is the best solution we have. Is it the perfect solution? Probably not.
No.
But, you know, it's the best one that we had available to us, and so that's what we've done. If we continue to do nothing and just try to keep finding this location that, you know, miraculously should be out there somewhere, then we're going to have an issue with it deteriorating even more. The foundation is deteriorating, and that's where we're at. That's what's causing all this problems. Okay.
I'm just telling you where I'm at.
Well, I understand, but Joe, we have a right to also give you, I'm trying to give it, I want the public to understand where we're at. And I want the public to support the bond issue. And I would hate to have this be an impediment to the bond issue because they feel that maybe we should look at a downtown area that we may have missed, but we haven't and gone through all the process. And that's what I'm trying to explain to the public, that we really have exhausted what I believe and gone through a process to get this correct. So anyway, thank you for coming, Joe. Appreciate it. Okay, next one is Christine Moffett. Hello, Christine, how are you?
Well, thank you. I am excited about the library coming to Empire. As a resident of Empire, I am just thrilled and can't wait so, you know, that's my point of view. But I'm here to talk about something different that you've heard me before. Before I start, though, I want to thank you all for your leadership and contributions to the city. It's really a pleasure for me to live here in Coos Bay, and I'm proud to live here. But you've been listening to the issues of the short-term vacation rentals for some time from members of the community. And I know that you've learned a lot, but I think there's still some more education that needs to go on. And I'm addressing a similar sort of, let's study this a little more before you adopt something and then be forced to change again. I'm sure you're well aware of the shortage of housing nearly throughout the whole country and certainly the region, and the growth of the industry of the short-term rental vacation institutions. And many counties and cities and communities are dealing with these issues, and there's a lot of studies that are emerging as a result of that. Today, for example, there was a short story on the Marketplace NPR regarding the problems of short-term vacation rentals in rural areas that are taking away affordable housing. And the emphasis in that study also quoted some work from the University of Montana on the tourism and an Institute for Tourism and Recreation. And I'm providing you a printed copy of that market report. I really ask the council to provide the opportunity for additional community members to participate in a working group to clarify the terms and proposed regulations for the revised city code. This effort will improve the geography and looking at this in a holistic manner. There's a big difference between short-term rentals in buildings and facilities that are occupied by the owners or the current residents, and that's termed a bed and breakfast. That can offer an asset to the community because the owners or the residents are docents that help inform and provide opportunities. For vacant properties that are occupied solely by vacationers, it's a different story, and those are going to take away available housing. There was a recent letter to the editor in The World by Tracy Sweeley, who provided some very sage comments about this, and I'm providing that again today. My point is that we need to get a group together to really look seriously at this issue and help come to something that makes sense for the city of Coos Bay. And I really thank you for the opportunity to comment today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I know that we've had a few comments about short-term rentals in the past and also here tonight. I just want you to be aware, this is becoming for the the city council. We will be having a public hearing on this. And so we will be hearing this and taking up the advice of the citizens and our planning commission. So I do appreciate the input. So is there anyone else who would like to make a comment, public comment this evening that hasn't? No? Okay, we'll move on to the next item. Thank you so much. Consent calendar, council. How would you like to proceed?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar as submitted. Are there any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Okay, number 4, presenting a retirement plaque to Sergeant Hugo Hatzel. Are you handling this, Chief?
Yeah, I am. I'm going to actually come out to the...
I hate to see this happen. I'd rather can we just postpone this agenda item and move on, Hugo?
Continue the hearing indefinitely.
Yeah.
I'll have Hugo, if you would mind, come up to the podium. And Dan Horn's representing the Coos Bay Police Officers Association. Mike and Tom, if you guys would mind come up here too. Yeah, look at that. First off, thank you for letting us come here tonight and take a few minutes of your time and to publicly recognize Hugo for his years of law enforcement service and congratulate him on his upcoming retirement. A little background about Sergeant Hugo Hatzel. He started his law enforcement career in 1994 as a reserve deputy for Coos County Sheriff's Office. In 1996, he was actually hired as a full-time deputy. He actually was hired in corrections and then eventually moved over onto the road. And in April of 2020, I like to say he saw the light and he came to Coos Bay. City of Coos Bay hired him at the police department, and that's where he remained his next 21 years of his career. So over the course of his career, as you can imagine, it's been a long career. He's held many different positions. Sergeant Hatzel held the position of patrol officer. He was a field training officer, which I will say he was my first phase trainer, so thank you for getting me through that first phase. He was also our FTO coordinator. He was on bike patrol. He was a drug recognition expert, which is no easy task. He also ran our DUII grant program for many years. He was a detective with the Coos Bay Police Department, and obviously he promoted to a sergeant. He held many positions on different boards throughout his career as well. He's had thousands of hours of law enforcement training, and he held his certifications. He had his basic certification, intermediate, advanced, and supervisory through the Department of Police Training and Standards, DPSST. He's been married for over 30 years to his lovely wife, Eva, and together they have 2 grown children. And I'll say you obviously were a big part of his life, getting him through a very dangerous and difficult career. So we'd like to thank you for that as well. So with that, and on behalf of the Coos Bay Police Officers Association in the City of Coos Bay, we would like to present you with a shadow box. I will read what the shadow box says. Basically what it says is, in recognition of 25 years of exemplary service as a law enforcement professional, your loyal and dedicated service to the citizens of Coos County, and Coos Bay. And the Coos Bay Police Department is sincerely appreciated. And so,
He could probably take his mask off for the purpose of the picture, couldn't he?
Thank you very much.
I'm just asking.
Yeah, certainly can.
Taking my stuff. You have a new sheet.
and then lastly, I'd like to say congratulations, Hugo. You know, you leave a huge void at the police department that will not be easily filled, but I will tell you that your legacy of your dedication, hard work, and commitment, that will carry forward. So thank you for all your years.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, please do.
So I just want to say that, you know, Chief Chappin really kind of spelled up my career, and I did about 4 years with the sheriff's office, and I remember when I came to Coos Bay that I literally felt like I won the lottery. And there's been ups and downs, sure, through the career, but even today I can sincerely say that that was the best decision I made in my life. It was the best decision for my family. I love this community, and I appreciate everybody that works here. You guys are, you know, volunteering your time. We've got great people here from all the departments to the city council. I just really appreciate you now, and probably even more now as a citizen of Coos Bay. So thank you.
Well, thank you for all your service and what you've done and for the community in this city. I mean, it's just wonderful to have you be part of it, and so thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
So, approval to the appointments to the Budget Committee, Design Assistance Committee, and the Planning Commission and Tree Board. So are we getting, oh, there it is. We have an email, I believe, for us. And so if you would just go ahead and choose. Okay. I had this problem last time. I have to open this thing. How come, is mine not working? We just supposed to put the X in here, right?
Just
Your
put
X
the X
work?
in there.
No, I wasn't even logged in. I'm getting there.
Are you getting it to work?
Would it be appropriate just for me to make a motion?
It certainly could.
I'll make a motion to accept the slate of applicants that we have on our list here. Do I need to
Second.
read them all off?
Sorry.
Well, the only one, Rob, that we were thinking of, we're discussing is the one that didn't show up for the interview.
Oh,
So, which would be,
With the exception of Sean Patrick Murphy.
okay.
oh, I know him.
Yeah, we're gonna reach
Bummer.
back out to him and see if we can set up an interview, so. Is that, what we've decided? Okay. So the one that, if you look also, the list that Melissa put on here is exactly what, Rob has stated, and you have seconded? Is that correct, Drew?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any discussion, anyone, about the slate? I think they're a great slate, and I appreciate them stepping forward and applying. Okay, with that being said, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Thank you. Thanks for doing that, Melissa. Sorry we couldn't get it working. We're having issues, technical issues here. All right, presentation on the city audit for the fiscal year 2020 and 2021 by Polly Rogers, Auditor Tara Camp. We didn't get to see you this time. So anyway, thank you for showing up virtually. So go ahead and give us the report, please.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Mayor. Council. I'm hearing a lot of feedback. Are you guys hearing that?
Nope.
We are not.
It could just be me. No worries. So I'm here this evening to present the results of the June 30, 2021 financial statement audit. My name is Tara Camp, and I'm a partner with Polly Rogers and Company, and we are the city's financial statement auditors. So what I'll do this evening is go through the governing body letter that we issue to you, and then I can take any questions if you have any on the audit. So on page 1 of the governing body letter, we cover the purpose of the audit. And this year, the purpose for the city was threefold. We performed the financial statement audit, and that's where we test and assess the financials created by management in order to express an opinion on them. Secondly, we performed the Oregon Municipal Audit Law, Oregon Minimum Standards Audit, and that is where we test compliance with laws and regulations. And lastly, we performed the federal single audit, and that is where we test federal grants that the city gets in order to test for compliance and internal control over compliance. So on page 2 of the letter, we go over the results of the audit, and the results for the city are excellent. For the financial statement audit, we issued an unmodified opinion. That is a clean opinion with no reservations. For the Oregon Minimum Standards Audit, we found no exceptions or issues requiring comment, except as noted on page 104 of the report. There was one minor budget over expenditure. And for the federal award single audit, we found no issues of noncompliance and no question costs. We also did not issue a separate management letter. If there were problems in the city's finance office that you needed to be aware of, we would communicate in a separate letter to you. The finance office of the city of Coos Bay is outstanding, and they're excellent to work with. Nicole, Melissa, and the team do an incredibly good job. They're highly professional and timely with their work, and we really enjoy working with them. So the next page of the letter, we note that we had no difficulties in performing and completing our audit, and we had no disagreements with management about accounting or auditing issues. And then lastly, the last couple pages of the letter, we go over future accounting and auditing items coming up, and that's good to be aware of because these are areas that might change your financial reporting, and you'll see those come up in future reports. So we'll work with management to make sure those are implemented when they should be. So overall, excellent results. And if there's any questions about the audit or the process, I'd be happy to answer them.
So Council, any questions for?
Terry, you mentioned there was no management letter. Can you speak to the significance of that?
Yeah, that's excellent. If there are findings in an audit that rise to the level of a significant deficiency or material weakness, those are findings that are important to communicate to the governing body. We would issue a management letter to communicate those with you. So we had no findings that we needed to communicate to the council about.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, I love to hear excellent, outstanding, no findings. Those are all great things. So I appreciate all the work you did, but I also appreciate you coming here and reporting what a great job the finance department has done and always seems to do. We had a great report from you last year, and I think the year before, and it's admirable that we have such a great committee, or finance department. So anyway.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me virtually.
Thank you. So with that being said, Council, let's see, let me get back to my agenda here. How would you like to proceed on this, accepting this? We accept the fiscal year of 2020 and 2021 audit.
I think it should also be noted that this excellent outcome was achieved while Nicole is running that and training with Roger.
Yeah.
That's,
And-
thanks to Melissa stepping up and
And
helping
Melissa.
out with
Yeah, and Melissa in the finance department, it's amazing that the job they do. I mean, we have a lot of different things going on. We got urban renewal, we got our city budget, we got wastewater, and I know the council always pushes and stretches this entity, and I'm sure it's not always easy to deal with us. But anyway, we appreciate it.
Thank you. If I could just add one bit,
Sure.
just to explain the over expenditure. It was in our hotel motel tax fund, so we actually got more tax revenue than we expected. And because we were obligated to send a portion of those funds to VCB, that created that over expenditure. It didn't happen until that last quarter payments were received, which is beyond the point at which we could correct that. So I'd like to say it was to our benefit because we got more
Sure.
lodging taxes than expected. So, but it is still something that is we should be mindful of and maybe watching a little throughout the year. So just want to explain what that over expenditure is because it could be significant to some people. So.
Right.
Yep. Thank you for clarifying.
Okay, council, can I get a motion to accept the audit?
I move that we approve the fiscal year 2020-2021 audit.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the audit. Is there any other comments or discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Okay, and thank you again, Tara.
Thank you.
The next item is the amendment to the Intergovernmental Agreement for Management, Cleanup, and Deposition of Englewood School Site. Who's handling it? Jim?
I'll go ahead and handle this one.
Okay.
On May 7th of 2019, the council authorized me to sign and enter agreement with Coos County for the cleanup of the property, which was the former location of the Englewood School. You'll recall that school was in private hands in the end of, I believe, 2014, early 2015, when there was a catastrophic fire. Actually, I think there was a couple fires there. But it mostly destroyed the property. While the city did try to get the former owner to abate the hazards that were left from that fire, he abandoned the property and left the area. The county later took that property in, I think in 2018, through a tax foreclosure and in an effort to accelerate the cleanup of the property. The agreement that we entered into in 2019 paved the way for the city to participate in cleaning up the property. In return, the county agreed to turn that property over to ORCA for low-income housing development. ORCA has been working with Northwest Housing Alternatives on a housing development plans. Just earlier this month, we received a letter from the new director of ORCA, who happens to be also on the council, requesting to withdraw its position in the property transfer process to allow that property to be transferred directly to Northwest Housing Alternatives, who owns and operates, manages numerous low-income housing developments around the state. This morning, the Coos County Commissioners met on this topic, and it was unanimous. They agreed to enter into the intergovernmental agreement to do the requested changes, and if it pleases the council, I'm asking you to do the same and allow me to execute the agreement.
So Roger, is the same criteria in place for Northwest Housing Alternative as it was for ORCA, that if they don't build on it a specific amount of time, then it comes back, or how is that?
I think we've changed it just a hair to allow them to
Was when they
acquire
received
capital.
ownership, I believe, of it.
Right.
But there's still a time frame.
There is still a
Still a
time
time
frame.
Okay.
It made it easier for their investors and grantees with that wording in there, so they had requested that as well, and I included that with my ORCA hat on right now. I included that in the letter requesting the modifications.
So that's a 2-year time frame?
No, it's a 5-year.
5 years.
It's a 5-year time
5-year,
frame.
okay. And obviously, Nate, you've looked at the
I put it
agreement.
together.
Okay, all right. Any other questions for Roger? Anyone on this project or on this transfer?
Excited to see it happen.
No, it's great. Okay, so we need to make a motion to allow Roger to sign the IGA agreement for the transfer.
Do I need to recuse myself?
I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
Dave.
I recuse
He doesn't
myself.
have a direct conflict.
No.
We don't have a consensus then. We don't have
Stephanie.
You
Oh,
still-
Stephanie, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Well, I would like to make a motion that we authorize the city manager to sign the attached IGA agreement with Coos County for the management, cleanup, and ultimate transfer of the old Englewood school site to Northwest Housing Alternatives.
Second.
Second.
Okay. So it's been moved and seconded to authorize the city manager to sign the attached IGA agreement with Coos County for the management cleanup and transfer to the old Englewood school site to Northwest Housing Alternative. Any other comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes. Thank you. We're at the city manager's report.
Thank you. On behalf of all the city staff, I wanted to thank you all for your demonstrated servant leadership. Today, you showed up at City Hall, and you are all volunteers. You get no compensation for the role that you take here with the city, and you guys donate a ton of time for the betterment of our community. And yet, you took time, additional time, out of your days to put together, I won't say they're care packages, but boxes of goodies for all the city staff. And I can tell you how much that is appreciated by city staff, and what an example you set for those that also work on behalf of the city but are compensated. So thank you.
It was tasty.
Well, I'm glad you got some, Nate. Yeah, good. So Nicole gave you some, right?
Yes.
All right.
Hard to believe, but you have one more meeting this year, and that's it. This year has flown by, but you do have a work session next week. And on the agenda will be to discuss some proposed updated rules and usage of the skate park as recommended by the Parks Commission. Changes to the development code prohibiting marijuana businesses in the waterfront heritage, medical park, Hollering Place, and urban public areas. In addition, there'll be a discussion on street trees and what are the actual districts of those street tree districts. And we wanted to suggest a discussion on the need to update council rules. There are several areas that probably need to be updated. One is your current rules talk about having 2 meetings a month, but the reality is the city charter was amended 2018 that says that there are occasions that you won't have 2 meetings if there's not a need to do council business. Secondly, we probably need to update that to codify that council members can attend virtually when needed, either online or by telephone, and still participate and vote. And lastly, we probably need to address public comments and timelines. I think ever since this council's been seated, public comments are about 3 minutes, although the council rule says 5 minutes. So that might need to have some updating. There are a couple ways to do that. One, the council can create a subcommittee of council members and a couple staff members to assist, or staff members can take a run at this and bring it to a future work session for discussion and review.
So, council, do you want to have staff do it, or you want some council members to be involved? I wouldn't really be involved in council participating, but does someone else want to do it, or just want to have the staff do it?
Staff sounds good to me.
I actually think we need at least 1 or 2 counselors involved in the discussion myself, since they are the council rules.
Okay. So,
I agree.
Pardon, Stephanie?
I agree with Rob.
Okay. So I'm willing, I'd like to participate. Rob does. We could get one more if they would
Right.
want to. Anyone else want to? Just leave it at 2?
I'd be fine. I'd be fine to do that.
Okay, so that'd be
Okay.
great. So we'll do that.
And then we also want to have a discussion regarding car charging, how they're operated, and who maintains them. Talk about responsibility so we have a better idea how to move forward. There will be some funding coming available through the Infrastructure and Jobs Act, and it's yet unknown exactly where those funds could be spent at. But there is also, it might be easier to get a grant, but then the question comes down the road, okay, how do we operate that, and do we charge for it? Do we set money aside to maintain and or replace those units because will have a limited shelf life? And then lastly, at least today, Development Code revisions, a discussion on that related to annexations, which is on the council's goals. So even though it's a work session, you have a full agenda.
Yeah, we do.
All right.
So with that, that concludes my comments. And again, I thank the council and I wish you the best of holidays.
Hey, Roger. Stephanie, council comments. Let's start with you.
Boy, I don't really have anything tonight other than to thank our staff again for all that you do for the city, and also the tremendous work that you do in our finance department for that great report. And then also to wish all of the council staff and our community a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Stephanie. Drew.
Not much other than to tell people and the folks playing the home game over there on the other end of the camera to be safe over the next couple weeks. And if you have holidays in this time frame, happy holidays. And that's all I've got.
Okay. Rob.
So the Library Steering Committee met last week with the architecture team from Hacker. I'm sure you guys all got the email from Roger. But for the community's benefit, I'll let them know that we toured the Topics Park and viewed 5 potential sites out there. We then came back here to the council chambers and talked about each site in depth. We narrowed that down to 3 potential sites that we were going to be seeking public input on. A large part of the discussion was the access on and off, whether it's Hull or the other one, can't think of the name of it right now. So we also discussed about maybe building a road from LeClaire into the site. There is a pump station there, so it'll probably have to be a one-way exit. So you would exit onto LeClaire where the light is and enter either on Hull or on the other road, which is escaping me at the moment. We will be meeting again on January 5th, and then they will be meeting with the Parks Commission on January 10th. And then the first 2 community meetings are scheduled for January 12th. So that's moving forward rather rapidly. I'm excited about some of the sites they came up with, one in particular. So I look forward to that moving forward. The only other thing I have is I want to congratulate Sergeant Hatzel on his retirement. And because I forgot at the last meeting to welcome Nolan Scoville to the force, because I've known Nolan for a long time, and I think he's going to make a great addition to the police force. And then the only other thing is just exactly what Stephanie said. I'll just leave it at that.
All right, thanks. Carmen?
I'd like to join in congratulating Sergeant Hatzel in his many years of service, and we're definitely going to miss him as a key component of the safety of our community. So I just want to thank him and his family once again for participating in keeping us all safe over the years. It's quite a gift to give that many years to a community. So I just wanted to make sure that was recognized from me. I also wanted to say thank you to all of the people who applied for committee openings for the city of Coos Bay. We had openings for the tree board, the design assistance team, and the budget committee, and the planning commission. And everybody who serves on those committees are, once again, volunteers, and their work really makes our jobs much easier over here on the council. They help to digest some of the information that's coming in, and the issues that we will have to discuss here at City Council, and so it makes our job easier, and we appreciate that involvement in city committees. And then in terms of thank yous, I just really want to thank the finance team for doing such a killer job on our audit. It's amazing. I don't know how often Tara's job comes back with such an easy report, but it's always good, and it's always the same. It's always spectacular. So thank you for making that easy for all of us to sleep at night knowing that everything is all balanced and checked. And then the city staff, yeah, we made little gift packages for the city staff, and that is just a very small token of our appreciation for all you all do every day, making the city run so smoothly. You know, we are sitting up here every day, and I feel like we have an amazing support network with the city staff and what you all do. You do a wonderful job of making sure that we're prepared to discuss things up here and make decisions easier. And I just want to say thank you. And then the city council, I must say that this has been an amazing experience. For my first experience in public governance, politics, I guess, whatever you want to call it, working with a group of individuals so cohesively, where we are all respectful to each other and are able to have discussions, maybe have split votes, but still move on to the next thing and have the same amount of respect, even though we might be on different sides of issues. It's just wonderful to work with you all, and I'm super impressed with how functioning we are, and grateful that it is that way, because I know it's not always that way. So thank you all for having me and my ability to participate. It's been an honor. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Hope you all enjoy the end of the year. It's now the shortest day of the year, so I'm ready to see more light. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Carmen. I just say ditto to all the comments made by the fellow councilors, truthfully. I want just to say congratulations, Sergeant Haskell, again. It's been fantastic to have our staff, one of our staff that we've appreciated in leaving, unfortunately. And I just want to reiterate that we appreciate our staff very, very much. And I appreciate the council, that's been stated. And I just want to wish everyone a happy holiday. And we'll see you one more time before the end of the year, so I can't say we'll see you next year. But anyway, that being said, that's the end of our agenda for this evening on the Coos Bay City Council. But we do have the Coos Bay Urban Renewal, and Drew will be handling that. So, Drew?
All righty, anybody need a break, or we keep rolling?
Chugga chugga choo choo.
Cool. All righty. First start of it, call the Urban Renewal meeting to order. Does anybody have any public comments? If not, when we get to an item you want to comment on, give a holler. We'll take a pause, and you can do it then. First item of business is to approve the minutes from December 7th. Do we have a motion and a second?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Ready to go. Second item, presentation of Urban Renewal Agency Audit for the fiscal year.
Tara's still on?
Tara?
Good evening. Yes, I'm still here. My name is Tara Camp. I'm a partner with Polly Rogers and Company, and I am here to present the results of the June 30, 2021 Urban Renewal Agency Audit. The Urban Renewal Agency operates within the same system as the City of Coos Bay, but it's a separate legal entity, so it receives its own audit with just as much scrutiny as the city. So what I'll do is go over the governing body letter for the Urban Renewal Agency, like I did for the city. And on page 1, we cover the purpose of the audit. And for the agency, the purpose is twofold. We perform the financial statement audit, and that is where we test and assess the financials created by management in order to determine if they're fairly stated and express an opinion. And secondly, we perform the Oregon Municipal Audit, Oregon minimum standards compliance audit, and that's where we look at various laws and regulations to ensure the agency is in compliance with those areas. And on page 2, we summarize the results of the audit. And the audit for the agency is excellent results, just like the city. For the financial statement audit, we issued an unmodified opinion, and that's a clean opinion with no reservations. For the state minimum standards, we found no exceptions or issues requiring comment. And again, we had no separate management letter issued. Further down on that page, we encountered no difficulties in dealing with management and performing our audit, and we had no disagreements about accounting and auditing issues. And similarly for the city, of course, the finance office is excellent to work with. Nicole and Melissa do an outstanding job, and we thank them for their hard work in getting the audit done in a very nice, timely manner. So overall, excellent results. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Questions? Hearing none, we need a motion to accept the fiscal year report. And second?
Make a motion to accept the fiscal year 2020-2021 audit.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. And again, thank you to all the amazing staff for the city. I know every department's involved to make the audit go through, so outstanding work, everybody. Next item is consideration of approval of building improvement program grant request for 784 Central Avenue, and I think Jim has that one.
Thank you. Carolyn's going to take it this evening.
Ah,
Hello, how is everyone tonight?
Doing well, how are you?
Good. Masco Properties is owned by Daniel Mast and represented by Andrew Licati of HGE Architects. I believe Andrew is here this evening. They're requesting a $100,661 grant for the installation of new weather barrier, vinyl or fiberglass windows, exterior entrance doors and service doors, and a combination of other siding materials comprised of metal, cedar, and fiber cement products. There's some interior work going on right now, but that is not the subject of the application for 784 Central Avenue. The application is attached along as well as photographs of the building as it looks today and pictures anticipated, actually drawings of what the building would look like with the improvements. There was some difficulty in getting bids, and the Mass Properties has their own construction company, so they put together a bid. And HGE also put together a cost estimate of what the improvements would be. They are asking to waive the 3-bid requirement. It's somewhat difficult to get bids. And they are also asking for a grant in the amount of I'm sorry, it's right here in front of me, $100,661, which would be 75% of the low bid of $134,214.97. Historically, the agency offers these grants on a 50-50 basis, and were this application for a 50% grant match, it would be about $62,000 or so dollars. The design assistance team has reviewed this application, and their comments supported the proposal. The question about the amount of money available for funding is getting to be a little more vivid, I guess we'll say, in that the amount of money available is growing less each day. That is the money that is unencumbered anyway. Right now, there's about $129,000 in the improvement program funds, and if requested for the entire amount, that would leave a balance of about $28,585 left that would be unencumbered for new projects that might come between now and June 30. We're the agency to look at just a 50% grant instead of the 75% grant, there would be a balance of about $62,000 left that would be unencumbered. We are requesting that you waive the 3-bid requirement and approve a grant in an amount that you feel is appropriate for the project. The grant would be subject to a requirement of building permits from the Public Works Department. I believe that Andrew would like to address the council. I shared with Andrew the limitations on our budgets, and I think that he has some comments he would like to make about some of their priorities as a project.
Hi, my name's Andrew Licati, architect with HGE. I'm working with the owner, Daniel Mast. And I guess one of the comments regarding the requirement for the 3 bids, just to let you know, getting in the current building environment, it has been very difficult to get bids just on normal projects that we put out for bids. For projects like this, which are smaller, more specialized, trying to round up available contractors who would put in the effort to put together a number is always difficult. Knowing that the owner is also a contractor makes it even more difficult to try to find someone who would spend the extra time and effort to put in a bid for a project that they know they would not even be working on. So that's the difficulty in doing that. So that's why our office put together an estimate to assist the council in comparison, so they could see, the construction estimate from the owner, who's also would be doing the work, and also from us, because I talked to the various manufacturers and suppliers to get numbers from them, and also shared that with the owner. He put his numbers together as far as labor and estimate. I put numbers together regarding that. So if you could see the comparison, you see they're kind of in the neighborhood. So that's always good to see that we're somewhat close in doing that. I guess the other comment I think Carolyn was talking about was the work. The requested amount is for the exterior facade. They are currently remodeling the interior. They're gutting the whole building, and they're currently doing just some demo work. We've got documents submitted to the city for review to get a building permit for, so they can proceed with that work. And then at some point, the exterior work will continue. A lot of that has to do with the weather. They're not going to be opening things up currently as it sits. It's a lot of that scheduling has to do with the weather and how that all fits, and also the materials, getting things like that in delivery, because those are long timeline and lead items. And is there any other questions or things you needed some assistance on clarifying?
I don't know who might know this one, but that's the old liquor store. Isn't that entire block for sale?
That's the old liquor store. That whole lot was for sale, and I believe Mast bought the block.
Oh.
He's already renovated a house that was on the corner, the northeast corner. It's now white, and the real estate portion of the company is located in a building that is on the northwest corner of it. So that's part of their whole idea to kind of renovate that whole area.
Yeah, I was just wanting to check that we weren't looking at putting money in something that somebody was just gonna flip.
Oh, no, they're looking at moving the real estate portion into that building. In fact, they're currently have more agents than they can handle in that building, and they're very anxious to get into this building,
Yeah.
from what I've been told.
I'll say it sounds like a lot of money at that fund, but thoughts? Oh, sorry, Roger.
If I could provide some additional information, it wasn't all that long ago that what was known as the facade grant program, which is now the building improvement program, did a 50-50 match, but up to a ceiling of $25,000. The agency has awarded larger grants, but this is an anomaly, and I would share that as the urban renewal budget officer and the urban renewal manager, I'm a little concerned. The building improvement project funds have had high demands, and if you award the whole thing, you're pretty much limited to maybe one other project for the remainder of the year, which is still, we're at 50% of the year. If you would would entertain my suggestion, I would suggest no more than $50,000 in the award.
So Andrew, in your letter here, it says the owner would be hard pressed to make these improvements to the exterior of the building without the assistance of the city in this program. So if we did award less than what they're requesting here, would this project still move forward?
I believe it probably would probably still move forward. I know they're working on their intent is to do, the whole project, the interior and the exterior. And one thing, with the exterior being its exterior and definitely and weather dependent.
Can you raise the mic a little bit? I'm having a hard time hearing.
And being weather dependent as far as the construction of it, the main focus would be the interior, getting that to where they can move in. Part of that, being able to move in, would be utilize windows. That's got to be part of the package. And if they, I haven't talked to them in depth on the phasing, but if they are not able to totally get the exterior at this point, they would still be able to move forward with it, because you're taking off the exterior, and I know there's going to be some repairs that they're going to have to be made to it. That's going to happen on any remodel, and I'm sure that'll come up. And once it's weather tight with the windows and weather barrier, the actual exterior cladding, that sort of thing, that could be something that gets put off a bit as far as funding on their end. I know their plan is to complete the whole project, but I'm not privy to their whole budget and financial situation.
Thank you.
Well, my concern, Andrew, is that, and I didn't quite understand, you said he'd had trouble getting another bid. I think that we might be going down a road if we were to have an owner do his own construction work. I'm leery of doing that. I think that we might be setting a precedent that we might be having a difficulty with down the road. I think the look of it is just not correct. So in my mind, we're going to award theoretically an improvement grant to Mast, who owns the property, and then have his company go ahead and do the project, and also he generates income off that project that we award the money. It just, it doesn't look right to me. And I'm not sure if we're not opening up a door that pretty soon, you know, other owners will say, well, I'll do my own work. And we've never done that. We usually try to get 3 bids, and I understand the difficulty, as it's been mentioned. Getting one might be difficult, but if it was a different construction company, it might be different. And that's really some issues I'm wrestling with here.
I can understand that one thing. I mean, he is, Mast is, it's a licensed contractor. It wouldn't be just, you know, Mr. Building Owner going out and doing his own work. It's.
But if we had another bid from another contractor, I mean, I understand that, you know, that you deal with it all the time, but, you know.
We could, and if that is, if you really stress that route, we could discuss with the contractor about bid and go about, you know, we'd like a bid and we will pay you for your time to do it, because that'd be the only way that we'd be able to get one from. These guys are busy, and just even trying to fit that in to their schedule.
That was my question, and whether that was even a possibility. Because I understand, I'm pretty excited about the option that we have to improve that block. I think that's just going to improve the whole of downtown. I think it's a great project. I think it's exciting that they're making investment, but I am concerned of the optics. I'm also concerned about the fact that we are using up those funds so quickly, and we're just, you know, not even halfway through the year. But I was going to ask if that option of paying a contractor, another contractor to submit a bid, because I understand that would be a concern. But we are entrusted with making good use of the public's funding, and I think for the sheer purpose of being transparent, that is something I would be interested in seeing.
I'll throw out my perspective. They just bought an entire city block and they want us to pay them to work on their own property. I'm not inclined towards any money. Oh, sorry, Roger.
In regards to doing a check on the bid, my suggestion would be that the city could employ a policy that we use an independent third party that's not affiliated with the project at all to do that, and the city could manage that. And I appreciate HGE's putting together a cost estimate, but we also have to realize that he works for the applicant that submitted this application. So it would be cleaner. I'm not suggesting that HGE's done anything wrong, and I would never. But you are entrusted with the public's funds.
Yeah, and I guess the dilemma I have, and Stephanie brought it up, the optics of it, and so did Drew. Even if we were to go out and get another bid, and they came back, or get someone to look this over, we're still giving this individual who owns a property and owns a construction company the ability to utilize those funds. And so it just, I think it's really something I'm hesitant to even award it if it was a low bid. I think that we should be, and it should be an independent contractor. I mean, what's the difference if a building owner comes in and puts his own bid in? You know, I mean, I think it's a precedent we're going to be setting that's going to be a problem for us, or could potentially be a problem.
Well, they still have to be a licensed contractor.
I understand. Well,
Yeah.
They could or could not. I mean, it depends what the situation is. But I mean, I could see that happening in all kinds of ways. You know, Mr. Mast here, this construction company, he will be making a profit, right? He'll off this bid, he makes a profit. I'm sure there's a profit built into this. I'm sure there's a profit that, you know, HGE put into this thing. There's a profit in here. So we're paying him, and he's getting a profit And I think the optics of that
Yeah.
with the public funds is a difficult one for me.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how everyone else feels.
Yeah, so this is the first time that we've had something like this happen, at least in my history. But it does beg the question of, you know, if there's another development company that does do their own construction,
True.
that are buying properties down in the urban renewal district and fixing up buildings, are we gonna push that away? I mean, it's just something that we have to ask ourselves, is this a one-time thing, or what happens down the line if?
Well, I think that, yeah, and I think Roger, I think that we've had some issues already with this.
Yeah.
Oh, and I think this is something that could come up. I mean, people multitask in their jobs, and a lot of people do a variety of jobs. But again, this is nothing new for me. I am concerned that we're exhausting the funds, and I would not be in favor of going over 50% for this project, regardless of whether or not we have 1 or 14 bids. I think we have to leave some funds available.
It sounds like we're bouncing somewhere between 50% and my proposed 0.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it was just recently when we, you know, decided to open it up a little bit more, and originally it was 25,000 was the cap for building owners to do a project, and we would match that. I still think that that's a pretty good number, and it's not without, you know, it's not outside the range of the ability. I mean, you know, purchasing property in the urban renewal district does come with some benefits, but it has a cost as well. So,
well, and we have to remember too, Carmen, that at some point the funds are going to be 0, and so somebody could purchase property in the urban renewal agency or in the urban renewal district, and there wouldn't be funds available. You know, there's nothing saying that we have to award everything, and there's nothing saying we have to award anything. So finding a middle ground is where we need to be. I think we're very early in the funding year to be exhausted to $28,000.
all good points.
So for my correction, Roger, we have helped, we've awarded them dollars in the renewal, but people have done their own work. Is that correct?
There are a couple other projects. One was the applicant, it ended up being her husband that owned the company and did the work. And that's the first one that I believe I'm aware of. And then more recent one, not quite the same circumstances, but the contractor who provided the bid, that was, again, the only bid provided, actually also resided in the building. And in that case, that contractor charged us, or the bid, for mobilizing on site and demobilizing. And he was actually at that address. So I think what we're looking at is some lessons learned, and that even if we've done it before, it doesn't mean we have to continue that practice. If there's a better way of doing business, we should look at that.
I apologize, there was a third suggestion that was out there to go back out for other bids. Does anybody come and do a motion?
Well, I would be more comfortable with another bid that gives some regulations on it, but I think also with the limited funds that Stephanie mentioned and brought up, and also Roger has suggested, I think that we have to take that into consideration.
And I don't think us giving a no prevents them from trying again, does it?
Well, no, and it doesn't. And also the thing is, even if you were to award the 50% here, Mr. Mass, I think, is going to have another project he's doing on this property, so it wouldn't limit him from coming back again and asking for some more for another project too. So at another time where maybe we have more funding available. So.
And did I understand Mr. Locati to say that that this portion of the project, the exterior, is farther out than they're working on some other things right now?
Yeah, well, they are doing interior work. The plans are at the city right now, so at some time in the near future, they'll be getting a building permit for that. The main thing with the interior work associated exterior work that goes along with that would be windows and doors. And, you know, there's discussion in the, or verbiage in the application about, you know, funds not being awarded until, or work not being able to start until funds are awarded, which I guess can discuss that at another time, but that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense on some of the stuff, because there's paperwork and financial information that's submitted to the council and to show that they can fund the project, and the funds, whatever funds are awarded, are not awarded to the applicant until the project is done anyway. So it shouldn't really matter if they need to start certain things. Nothing should, you know, prevent that or hold that up. Windows are, you know, 3 months out. So, you know, the need to get those in line so that they get them in a timely period and can utilize them. You know, things like that shouldn't, you know, hold their project up. You know, the mention of, if the council, you know, determines, yeah, we'd really like additional bids for comparison reasons, so things look more, I guess, on the up and up, or you don't have questions about things. That could be done. We could discuss with various contractors, seeing if they've got time, seeing about how much time it might take them, finding out, well, what would what would it cost for us to get a bid? Because then the owner would then have to, you know, say, okay, well, if we're needing to get additional bids, then this is what I'll have to do. And just finding the willing contractor who's got the time and agrees to do that would just, you know, be another step that we have to take if that's what's asked.
So Andrew, I think this agency, from what I can read from the individual comments, is that they would be willing probably to support the 50,000 and doing 50% of that, which would mean 25,000. So I guess my question to you is, will Mr. Mass move forward with this project if he's awarded that kind of grant?
I'm guessing he probably would. It certainly can talk
So
with him.
I
as
mean,
far
I would
as
suggest
funding.
that maybe until we got a confirmation from Mr. Mass that he'd be willing to do that, maybe you'd find out and then come back. I mean, I think, we have the city manager recommending, Stephanie suggested that because of the limited funds. I'm not sure how the rest of the council feels. Drew said 0, but I'm not sure where Carmen and Rob are, but I'm not sure if, you know, that would be applicable. But it would be contingent on the individual moving forward on the project. I mean, we don't want to award something that he's not going to then move forward on the project. Maybe he wants to scale it back or something too. I don't know.
So do we have the capacity to do an independent bid?
I believe we can facilitate getting one taken care of. And what I might suggest is postponing the decision on this matter and schedule to bring it back at the January, I believe, 8th meeting. I may have the wrong date on January, but the first meeting in January, how about that?
Do we have a motion?
A motion to postpone?
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All righty, motion passes to postpone. Thank you. And our next item is the consideration of request for reimbursement from Coos Bay Village developers. And Roger.
Yes, the developers of the Coos Bay Village is putting a 14-foot wide concrete pedestrian boardwalk along the eastern edge of their development. The majority of that is already in, and they are working on the northern end of the development And they have identified that there is an issue. There is a telephone pole sitting there owned by Zipley Fiber, and it would actually sit in the middle of the walkway. When that property was purchased and due to an agreement with the Division of State Lands, that property came with a easement which allows the public access to that eastern edge. Thus, the reason the boardwalk is put in, which of course also benefits the development. The owner is asking, or has checked, and it's approximately going to be just a little bit under $10,000 to have Zipley move that pole out of the pedestrian walkway. And they're asking for consideration of the agency to reimburse them for the actual cost to have it moved. The $9,853.60 is an estimate from Zipley, and even within their letter, they says there might be a reimbursement back to the developer. So if the agency is so inclined, I would ask you to approve reimbursement up to the quote, the $9,853.60 for the cost of relocating the pole. That area does benefit the public. It's not a public it's not an easement owned by the public, but it is an easement for the public.
Thoughts?
I think I'm fine with it. I think it's something that is an issue that needs to be done, and I understand what they've done down there. So this is something that, you know, Zipley's going to charge to move this thing. So.
I don't know. I have mixed feelings on it.
Is Zipley the one moving it, or is
Yes.
the developer moving it?
No, Zipley will move it. I don't believe Zipley or any utility allows for the movement of their utilities without their people doing it.
I would think this improvement factors into one of the long-term goals we've had of creating a comprehensive boardwalk across the waterfront for Coos Bay. So this moves towards that same goal. Other folks?
I'm not sure if I should be
No,
a part
that's
of this.
Right. Well, but I think, well, I don't know, there's a Nate would address this, I guess.
Shouldn't impact his equity or anything.
No, I don't think so. But
You have no conflict.
Okay.
How much have we put in on this particular project?
We are in the neighborhood of $2.5 million for the public improvements going to the facility.
And we just spent quite a bit of time wrestling over a different area and a request. And I don't know, I guess maybe I'm just feeling like we have been asked and we've committed to, and you know, those are just my thoughts. I don't know if they're making sense or not, but we just turned down and postponed a request for something that would create an improvement in a different area of the community, and I think we need to just consider that.
I understand that approach. I would just contribute that this also factors into the planning for our waterfront. This is a piece of something we've been working on, and this is an obstruction to the continuity of the boardwalk and maybe someday connecting the cities on the waterfront. Not sure how we'll get around the chip pile, but that's for another day.
well, the only other thing, I understand what Stephanie's saying. It said, but these are different pots of money too. So one's out of the, you know, improvement grants, and which is a different funds than the urban renewal. So that's the only difference that I just want to clarify. I'm not saying, I understand Stephanie's.
No, I agree. I agree. It is please make that point for the purposes of the public, that these are different funds, but it's just a lot of money that has gone into that particular project, and that is, you know, we're talking about optics, and I understand it's a goal, and I want to see that as well. And I think it's going to be beautiful when it's all done. I just felt that it was important to make that point.
Totally understand.
My input would be that the use of that boardwalk will be significant by the public. I see a lot of people walking on that boardwalk already, and it's just partial. And then once it's connected to Front Street, it'll be a significant benefit to our downtown area and the residents of our area. I see this as pretty much only in the public's interest, so I'm more in favor of supporting this request.
Sounds like we're migrating towards a consensus. Do we have a motion?
Well, wait a minute. I mean, I agree with everything that's said, and I'm leaning towards supporting this project. I just kind of think I'm feeling like Stephanie is, that I'm a little uneasy because we've contributed a significant amount of money to this project, and I'm just starting to feel like we're the debit card that the developer just knows that he can swipe whenever he has some unexpected cost, and it's making me feel uneasy.
So just to jump in a little bit, I think that we've had some trade-offs with this developer. I think we think he's also going to take out all the pilings for the Coos History Museum. That's at his expense. Also, he's going to put a dock in front of this boardwalk further on. It's going to tie it onto the dock that we have at his expense. So I think, there's been some trade-offs. Don't get me wrong, we've put a significant amount of money into this project, but I think there's also been some trade-offs that this individual, or this developer and his partner have done also. And but I understand how Rob and Stephanie both feel, but I think that sometimes, why he came for this, and then on the flip side, he takes out the pilings of the Coos History Museum, and then also is going to put the dock in. So I understand. But anyway. Just more to wrestle with now.
Well,
I would say that the agency's not limited to an all or nothing. If you wanted to do partial, that's your option as well.
if there's some unease, we could potentially move to split the cost, the developer.
I don't know. This is Zipley. It's $9,800. We wouldn't pay the developer unless we had a receipt. Am I correct, Roger?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, you could agree that if you wish, that you would reimburse the developer 50% of the actual cost once it's moved. That's another option. You could say
Or the
no.
full cost, but we're not going to pay the developer.
Yeah,
we're
that
going
makes sense.
We're going to get the receipt and reimburse the developer for the cost.
Honestly, this is moving an obstruction so that they can put an investment on our waterfront at their dime. The way I see it is they're still giving to the community by moving forward with this. They're just asking for the help to make that the best possible installation, basically. And I don't know, I tend to, want to encourage people to install projects like this for the public's benefit that, they're not necessarily benefiting from. It's more about public accessibility and walkability, and it seems like it benefits more people, more of the public than just a standard facade improvement or anything like that. I realize those are different separate piles of money, but I feel like the investment is going in. We should try to help make it the best possible installation.
Don't get me wrong. I believe that the time to do this is as we're developing structure there. I understand that. But I also, to say that this is a benefit to the public more than it is to the developer, I think is a misstatement. It is going to benefit the developer. It's going to benefit the public. It's going to benefit the businesses that are in Coos Bay Village. So that's the only thing I'm saying. The time to do it is now, and it sounds like it needs to be done. I wish I would have had time to run down there and take a look at it. I didn't see any photos.
There was one in the email that Roger sent out a while ago, I believe, right?
Yes.
Well,
It's gone quiet.
We need a motion.
well, we'll see if it works. I'd like to move that we approve the request for the reimbursement to Rockface LLC for up to $9,853.60 for the cost of relocating the telephone pole.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. And with that, we are adjourned.
Good discussion.
Yeah.
It was. We had less discussion